What's up, boys? It's Nick from Team Table 501 here. I'm the king of the scrubs, and you already read the title of this video. You know why you're here. This is my Salamangreat deck profile for October 2020, and I'm not playing Parallel Exceed. So, I'll talk about that more while we're in the deck profile, because I feel like it's a lot easier to explain when you see the deck rather than just like the list of reasons why. But yeah, for the record, I'm not doing this to be edgy. I'm not doing this to be cool, like, you can play the deck without Parallel Exceed, because a lot of lists I've seen are still playing the card and they're calling it like a staple card in the deck. I just don't think that's true. I think that the deck more played Parallel Exceed because it just fit in the deck naturally and the rank 4 pool was good. Now I don't think that's the case anymore. I think that your rank 4 options are pretty limited in terms of their like effectiveness on turn 1, and you're better off just playing more hand traps because you have to open 2 hand traps going second, or else you're just not playing Yu-Gi-Oh! This format. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. So anyway, the link to the deck list is in the description if you just want the deck list. Also, my Facebook and Twitter in the description. Go follow me, go friend me. I post cool shit. And without further ado, let's just get into the deck profile. So, let's leave this. Sorry about that. All right. So, to begin with the deck profile, salad lineup is very standard for the most part. You got your 1 Gazelle, 2 Spinny, 2 Foxy, 2 Jack Jaguar, and 1 Falco. This is like the most standard lineup in the history of standard lineups. The only difference I made to the lineup is I'm playing 1 copy of Salamangreat Foul. So here's the thing. I just talked about how the rank 4 pool isn't super deep, but the rank 4 pool is deep enough that I still wanted to have access to making a rank 4 in my deck, and this is the only card that lets you do it without having to play Parallel Exceed. Because here's another reason why I'm not playing Parallel Exceed, right? So it's not even that your rank 4 pool is that like deep, it's that like you're not doing anything with it turn 1 like super broken. Like, you're not, like, using it as link material and then turning it into a Spatha and then making LP and then, like, full comboing, like, the Rocket Dragon Link deck can do with it. Or, like, in the Math Mech deck or whatever, it's not, like, an actual extender that you're using into, like, Link Devotee into Scraper and nonsense like that. It's just, like, this fair mid-range card. And, like, I'd rather just play an N-Archetype Searcher that does the same thing. And is also a much better top deck. Because Parallel Exceed's an ass top deck. You have to go through 2 on turn 1, and then the third one in your deck's just sitting there doing nothing. Whereas Foul, like, you can search it, and you can draw it, and it's a salad monster, and it just, like, does the thing you need it to do. So that's why I'm only playing the 1 Foul, no Parallel Exceed in my deck. Also, the format's just lining up in a way where you just need more hand traps, and the card I cut for more hand traps is Parallel Exceed, because it's the easiest cut in the deck. But I still wanted to have access to making rank 4s in my deck, because some matchups, rank 4s just instantly end their turn. Like, against the Dinosaur deck, if you just make an Abyss Dweller, their turn just kind of ends. Against other combo decks, if you make a Bagooska on turn 1, their turn also ends. So that's why I played the Foul. So I'm playing 9 Salad Monsters. The rest I feel is pretty standard. Like, you can mess around with the numbers. I wouldn't play more than 2 Foxy, though. This card fucking sucks. There's, like, not a lot of face-up spell and traps that you want to destroy. And, like, you're playing lower Salad lineup, so your odds of hitting on the normal summon effect are pretty bad. And then the only starter I'm playing is Debug. I know Flame Buffalo works better when you're playing 14 hand traps in your deck, but please don't play Flame Buffalo. You need to just have consistent access to your game plan, because the game is ending in such a short period of time that if you ever stumble for a second, you just lose. So even though Debug is a lot more fragile and is going to get hand trapped because every deck's playing 30, you just have to play the card that gets you to your Gazelle. And this card is a kill going second. And I can show that combo at the end of the profile. And then for the hand traps, I'm playing 3 Ash. I think this is my worst hand trap, but it's just a Fire Monster. You can recur it. But it's the most flexible one for sure. 3 Imperm, this is the best hand trap, like by far. Just like not being a monster so they can't tactics you. It's not once per turn. It's insane. 3 Nib. I hate this card so much, but you have to play it. And 3 main deck Droll and Lockbird. I hate this card with a Burning Passion as well. But again, you just have to play as many cards that like end your opponent's turn as possible. So Droll's the only one in the format that actually does it. So, and then my last main deck hand trap, 2 copies of Ghost Ogre. Normally I'd play Gamma in this deck, but 1, there's no room, and B, I couldn't find the space. There's no room, and B, like, you're not really setting up like an oppressive end board with Gamma. It's not like you're going Gamma into the full Dragon Link combo, so, or it's not like Dinosaur where you're ending on like Ultimate Conductor, Alagia, and the Lambda to Gamma your opponent. So it's a lot better just to play a flexible card like Ghost Ogre. So 14 main deck hand traps. If you wanted to change the Drolls for Veilers, you could. But again, you just want to play as many cards that end your opponent's turn as possible, and these are the ones that I found to end my opponent's turn. So that's it for the monsters. On to the spell cards. Playing 3 Mining and 3 Desires. Again, just maxing out consistency. You just want to make sure that your deck can do the thing it's built to do every single game. These cards help you maximize those chances. 2 Will. I wanted to play 3 of this card, but again, there just like really isn't a lot of room. You could cut another card I'm going to show you in a minute for the third will, but this card being once per turn is super annoying. And, like 2 is just a really weird ratio for this card. Like normally I like playing 1 or 3, but 2 has just like felt right for the longest time because it's a card that like you want access to on the second turn of the game to go for your OTK through hand traps, but it's also a card that like you don't want to draw on turn 1 and you don't really want to draw on turn 3 because the game's usually going to be over by then. So 1 circle, 1 sanctuary for obvious reasons. And then 39 is better than 40. You could cut the upstart for the third will if you wanted. Again, I just like having a 39 card deck. But I would not cut the Reborn. This card is absolutely insane. Being able to revive your Link bosses is super important while also being able to interact with your opponent. Like, I had a game against Dragon Link at Locals a week ago where I access coded their Dragoon. I couldn't kill them because they negated my my update jammer. But then I just went Reborn your Dragoon with 2 hand traps in hand and they just like couldn't play. It was great. And then for the traps, only 1 Roar and 1 Rage. These cards are so paradoxical because they're your best defense going first, but they're complete ass going second. And because of the way the format's shaping up, you just can't play more than 1 of each trap. You just don't have the room. You need to have hand traps for when you lose the die roll. But in like an optimal world, I would play a second Rage. This card is insane. This is so powerful. You basically always search this when you have the option to. These cards are nice. So 40 cards in the main deck. I feel like the main deck is pretty stock. Like, this might be the stock salad list without Parallel Exceed. Like, if you wanted to, you could cut the Foul, and you could... like, you could cut Foul, Droll, Ogre for, like, Parallel Exceed and Cyclone, and that's your stock salad list. But for the most part, I think if you're not going to play Parallel Exceed, you should be playing these 40 Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I think these are the best 40 Yu-Gi-Oh cards you could play. If you're going to play this deck. Moving on to the extra deck. 3 Banelinks, obvious. 3 Sunlight Wolf, obvious. I don't really need to go over why these cards are insane. 2 Helio. I hate the fact that we still have to play this card. I really want to play Maximus targets, but there just isn't, like... There's no room, like... There's just no room. And you need this card for random like, rogue matchups like Eldritch, where they're just going to have face-up things that you need to interact with. And, like, you're going to run into niche scenarios where this card actually came up. Like, prime example was I was playing at Locals last week. I played against Goki. And, like, we each hand-trapped each other to death, so we couldn't play. My opponent just had this Goki Guts in defense mode that I just, like, couldn't get over because it can't be destroyed by battle. And so eventually I found the line to win was, you make Heatleo, you bring Jack Jaguar back to the zone Heatleo points to. And then I used Heatleo's effect to change Jack Jaguar to 2300 attack, and this card deals piercing, so I just rammed into it for 3 times in a row, or 3 turns in a row for game, because my opponent couldn't draw Goki to link it off. It was hilarious. 1 Link Kuribo. This should be an Albarage for sure, but I just don't own an Albarage. This card does actually come up sometimes, though, like being able to negate impermanence on your Transcode Talker, or being able to negate like an evenly matched or something critical. Nightmare Phoenix. This card like kind of sucks, honestly. Like why couldn't this card be a Cyberse? That's all I want. I want to be able to make this before I make Transcode, but the way it goes, right? This card's insane, though. Please play it. Please play it. I just wanted it to be a Cyberse. And then for the OTK package, Update Jammer, Transcode, Access Code. This will probably never change until we get a better win condition. If you're on a budget and you can't afford Access Code Talker, that's totally fine. I would personally play Topologic Zeroboros because that card can attack for a bunch of damage because you're playing Pot of Desires in your deck. And because there are a lot of matchups that banish, that card will just have a lot of attack inherently. But if you want to play the deck optimally, you should play Access Code. This card is fucking broken. Like, the fact that it has the best text in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! On it, while also just being big and dumb and stupid, is so ridiculous. It's so easy to make, too. It's just so easy to get to. And then for the rank 4s, I'm playing 1 Jugaris. I got this from Top Tier Yu-Gi-Oh!, so shout out to him. Originally, I was playing Baguska instead of this card, but because of the way the format's shaping up, you just kind of need to either draw hand traps or draw FTK cards. This card lets you do that while also being a fire. And again, like with Foul, you're able to like search Foul, make this, and then make Sunlight Wolf, and then continue to play. It's part of the reason like Parallel Exceed's okay, because if you play this card, you can convert your Parallel Exceeds into a Sunlight Wolf. But again, I think Parallel Exceed is like unnecessary. And then One Abyss Dweller. This card is nuts. This card's fucking nuts. It does so much. Like, shuts off Dinosaur, shuts off Orcus, shuts off any BA pile. It's even good in, like, mirror matches. It's okay against Dragon Link. So that's it for the extra deck. Moving on to the side deck. Starts off with 3 Gamma and a Driver. I just don't have room for it in the main deck, but I definitely wanted it in the side deck. It's by far the most impactful hand trap we can play right now. Like, this is the card outside of Droll with the highest likelihood to just end your opponent's turn. So if you don't have this card in your... Oh, I'm sorry about that. If you don't have this card in your main deck, I would highly recommend having it in your side deck for sure. And then for the artifacts, I'm playing 2 Lancia, 1 Scythe, and 3 Sanctum. So I wanted to play 3 Lancia, but again, there's just no room. You could cut one of the side deck cards I'll show in a minute to make room for a 3rd Lancia if you wanted. But this card's just like super critical to have right now because of the prevalence of Dinosaur. Like, that deck is just impossible for you to beat because it has 1 card that invalidates literally over almost half of your deck. So you need to have a card that will just end their turn so you can kill them on the crackback. Because the deck doesn't play a lot of like interaction outside of like a few hand traps, and it's very easy for you to play through those cards. So you need to have access to a card that will just end their turn, and this is the only card that does that because you can fire it off, and then they can't banish for miss, they can't banish for pill, they can't do anything. And then the Scythe plus Sanctum is just an FTK against combo. Oh, no, I'm so sorry. It's just an FTK against combo, you know. You set Sanctum, and then you flip it on their turn, they can't play, and then on your turn you kill them, so. And then for the Monkey decks, 2 Cosmic Cyclone, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, 1 Red Reboot. I haven't run into too many Monkey decks, aka back row decks, but it's just nice to have cards that are good against them. Like, you just don't have to worry about having, or getting blown out by floodgates and stuff. Just having the removal spell forward is super critical. And like, these cards can also come in against other matchups. So like against rogue decks, like even against Dinosaur and other decks, you could bring in the Cosmics. And then against pure back row decks, you just bring in the Feather Duster and the Reboot in these. But yeah, like against Sky Striker, I bring in Duster. Against like Guru, you bring in the Red Reboot. And then the last card in my side deck is a 1 of Imperial Order. This card's insanely broken against the Invoke Dogmatica deck, which I wanted to have a little bit of hedge for that deck because it's slowly becoming more popular. If you wanted to cut this for the 3rd Lancia, you absolutely could. That was the consideration I was thinking about before my locals this weekend. But I wanted to have hedge for Invoke Dogmatica, so this was the slot that I gave to it. Like, this and Lancia are pretty interchangeable, honestly. It depends on what you want, like, on how much you want to hate on Dinosaur, really. If you're not worried about that matchup, then, like, just keep the 2 Lancias where they are. But I also think that, like, there's heavy consideration. I make this the 3rd Lancia before locals. Just because, like, my locals is a very disproportionate number of Dinosaur players, so I want to make sure that I can have access to that card. But this is just insane against Invoke Dogmatica. And against some rogue decks like Striker, because that deck's been picking up in popularity, Imperial Order just wins you the game on the spot. So, And so that's going to do it for my Salamangreat deck profile October 2020 without Parallel Exceed. Like I said, I think Parallel Exceed is just a little too weak in the metagame right now. I think you just need more hand traps because you're going to lose a lot of die rolls. And so if you just build your deck to where, like, if you lose the die roll, you lose, that's just not good deck building. So I wanted to build my deck in a way where it still functions going first while having the ability to play going second. So I said earlier I was going to show the debug combo. I'm just going to do another video for that. I'll just do like a 3 Salamangreat combo you need to know video. That's just easier for me to show off. I'll do something like what I did for ABC, where I'll just do like the critical combos that you need to know. One of them will be the debug combo, one of them will be Gazelle plus Foul, and then I'll show off another one where you open Mining plus Monster plus Foul. So anyway, that's going to do it for the deck profile, guys. Like I said, the deck list for itself is just in the description if you just want the deck list. Again, follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Friend me at PostCoolShit. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll be more than willing to answer them. Let me know what you think of my deck in the comment section down below. I'm always open to criticism, but please have a cohesive argument. That's all I'm asking for. Anyway, my name is Nick from Team Table 501. Thanks for watching, and get good scrubs. I'll see you next time.